Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a review slash overview to do for you of a new boutique knife brand and knife from them, which is awesome. This is from Caelum Blade Designs, and this is the Ari. And the Ari currently comes in 4 configurations, but that is subject to change. There is this one with the aluminum carbon fiber. We call it aluminum infused. Some people call it topo carbon fiber. I'm not sure what he calls it. There's the black micarta, and then there's a green micarta and a copper infused carbon fiber. You guys may have seen those on the Devo knives, stout. So it's the similar materials there. I do have this paper right here. It came in this pouch, but I don't think that's going to be the packaging. I think that's just how, what he had for these prototypes. They are produced by QSP. I want to read through this stuff, if there's any specs or anything on here, and then that way we can get to it from there. So there you go. It's Caelum Blade Designs. There's their Instagram, Caelum_Blade_Designs. Website, CaelumBladeDesigns.com. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Please go to the website and please sign up for their newsletter. That is the best way to make sure you're on top of things. You'll get emails as the pre-order comes up, which the pre-order is going to be in August or September. And email is the best way to, support what's going on, because the more emails he builds up on the website, he can kind of gauge the interest for the knife, and then you'll also be getting emails along the way. So I do think that's a really important thing to do, along with Instagram. But a lot of people don't have Instagram or whatever, so the website is sort of a catch-all. So CaelumBladeDesigns.com. This is the Ari, and it is an S90V. I think that's very cool. That's different. So S90V, that's awesome. Handle material is titanium with an inlay, which we talked about. And there you go. Aluminum CF, copper CF, black micarta, green micarta. And of course, the hardware is titanium. And right here, Caelum means sky in Latin, because the sky is the limit, is my philosophy when it comes to the design of knives. That's awesome. And the model name Ari is named after his first son, who is 2 years and 8 months old. His name is Erlen. Ari is his nickname. Ari also happens to mean eagle in Old Norse Icelandic, which I thought fitting perfectly with Caelum. So there you go, guys. That's a little bit of information about the designer and the knife. The designer's name is Kevin Jong. I have talked to him on Instagram now for a few months. I'm gonna grab a sip of my LaCroix. And I'm pretty sure he hit me up around the time that I was really heavily promoting the stout. And he did give me some support there, and I really appreciate that. And he also let me in on his dream, and he showed me the design and his excitement and everything. And I think it's really cool to see that coming to fruition for people now. I see a lot of these prototypes coming in for these boutique brands, and it's just awesome, right? I was able to team up with Colin, and we were able to get a knife produced. It's hopefully going to be landing in about a month. And it's just a really unique and cool experience to go through all that. And these guys, and in particular Kevin, is now getting to start with that process, and I think that's really cool. So please go check out their website for that newsletter. That is the best way to support them. So you will see this has a reversible clip. We'll talk about the clip a little bit later. But let's get into the design and everything and talk about it. So aesthetics, I think this is really cool, and I think it's unique. I gotta say, this does not look like anything. In a world where everything looks like something else, I mean, even my own designs, I look at them and I'm like, yeah, that looks like a this with a that, or this and a that. I don't really have that here. I don't, nothing to me screams like he took that from there and put this there and then flipped that over and then took that blade and this handle. And, that's just how your brain works, whether it is or it isn't true. It's just how your brain works. But I've never seen a knife that looks like this. I've never seen a blade that looks just like this. I've never seen a hole that looks just like that. I've never seen an inlay just like that. I've never seen a pivot like that wasn't an integral. I've never seen a handle design like this. So I think it's super unique, right? I do. I think and I think that's a positive. in the sense that he did that without making the knife look goofy as shit. Like, you know, for the most part, if you're gonna pull that off, it's probably because it looks goofy as shit. You know what I mean? This does not. This looks like a good knife. One thing I want to get off the, I want to tell you guys immediately is this is a pocket sword. So this is a big ass knife. Here is my Craig Brown Knives FSD. Whoa. FSD, one of my favorite knives. And you will see here that this knife is the same size. It is essentially the same exact size as the Brown Knives FSD, which to me is huge. This knife is big. You know, I wouldn't say it's huge, but it's big, right? 3.75-inch blade, etc. I think he told me this was a 3.6-inch blade. Let's check with our handy-dandy NAFS titanium ruler. Shout out to KPL for providing that to the channel. We can line it up here at... So if you're lining it up from here, right, down, you're looking at 3.6, right? But the way I look at it kind of is like, that's sort of where it ends. So it's closer to 4, but hey, 3.6 is what he says, and I'm good with that. And then if you look at the handle here, guys, so now we got to take the handle from here back, which it is the furthest point, so I'm just being, you know, stupid. You're looking at about a 5-inch handle, a little bit, maybe 5 1/4, a little bit more. So, you know, 3.6, 5 1/4. You're looking at close to a 9-inch knife here, guys. It's a big one, right? But other than the size, it's a cool knife. I'm hoping at some point he does a medium or a small size version of it, as long as everything goes well. Here's the thing with the size, right? Because I know a lot of you were like, man, that's just too big, right? And I honestly, if I'm being honest, which I'm always honest, I hate saying that, it's too big for me. It is. It's almost small enough for me to be like, you know, I'll do it. But I don't know. I think it's just a little bit too big. Now, I am going to pick one up because I want to show support for Kevin. I do. So I will pick one up, but I think it's going to be too big for me in the end. But we'll see once I get it in and everything like that. But if I were a consumer... And it was, you know, I am a consumer, but if I were a outside consumer, like I wasn't, you know, privy to the prototype, and I didn't talk to Kevin, and I didn't think he was an awesome dude, and I didn't, you know, I didn't have sort of, I'm kind of invested, right? Like, it's just how I work, guys. I'm kind of invested. I love the community. I love people in the community. I love seeing things like this, so I'm invested. I am going to pre-order one, you know? But if I weren't in that situation, I probably would pass out of just the sheer size of the knife. That's really the only reason, though, guys. So if this knife is for you in terms of aesthetics and all of that stuff we'll cover, then, and the size works for you, you like a big knife, then I would say go for it. It's totally worth the money and everything. That's not a concern, right? It's just the size for me personally. So I just want to get that out of the way. All right. So other than that, aesthetically, like we talked about, beautiful hole shape. I just love that design on the hole, how it's rounded here, but then has that little bit of a point there. You have that swedge right there. You got this really nice stone-washed blade. It's a very unique, not unique, it's a very cool way of doing it. Nice spine on the blade. You got some jimping here. One thing I want to note is the jimping on the front flipper is perfect. I mean, literally perfect. Comes up and around, and it grabs you. It really does. I love the jimping on this front flipper. Nailed it on that. The inlay, this is unique, guys. I rarely see knives with an inlay that sticks out. And if I do, I don't really like it. It's really cool on the carbon fiber because you can see the end cut piece of carbon fiber. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. You can really see that end cut piece right there, and it's just unique. The only other knife I can think of that does that is the Jaeger, where you'll see it kind of has that inlay sticking out a little bit. And you know, I honestly on this knife wish it was flush, but it works. But on this, I love it. I love that it does that because it's kind of an onlay bolster versus being, you know, a inlay, or being the opposite, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I really like that. And speaking of which, this would be, I guess, a reverse bolster lock. Is that what you would call it, I guess? Normally the scale will come up and block the top or the bottom of the lock bar. On this one, it blocks the top, which as a lefty, honestly, I think is better a reverse bolster lock. Now, the one thing aesthetically I don't like is that. I don't like that the frame lock is showing. So personally, I think I maybe would extend this down. I don't know how that would look visually, and then with the clip, it might get in the way. So I don't know if you could even do that. But I don't love that cut right there. I just think it looks a little goofy. But you know what? I think I'd get over it. I'm just saying that's one thing. The clip looks great aesthetically. I think it's a good setup on the clip. I do see the reversible clip here. You can see I have this one set up for lefty carry because I've been carrying it lefty. And I like that. I would prefer a filler tab. So I'm going to go over some changes or things that I think would be good for changes. Obviously, that's one of the reasons he sent this to me was there's two reasons. One, so I could give him exposure and review the knife and give him feedback. And also so I could pass these around to some other channels and help him get some exposure that way too, right? And I always offer to do that. I offer to do it. I don't ask, I'm not asking for anything, not that I deserve anything, but I just want to make that clear. I don't ask for anything. I just want to help get exposure for these people, for these companies, because I want these to succeed because I know how it feels, right? So I want to help the best I can with that situation. Anyway, you can see the clip there. We'll talk about that, but I like that it has the lefty clip option. You have these standoffs back here. Again, something I will talk about later, but I think that, I don't know, it seems a little bit out of place on a premium knife, S90V, with all this cool stuff. I think it would be cool to have a backspacer, but it might be a weight thing. I don't know. He might be able to tell me at some point, but I do want to point that out. I do think a backspacer would be cool. You have this beautiful pivot. Look at that. I just thought it was an integral from the pictures because of it, because that's how Riot does their integral pivots. So you can take that piece out and then get in there and get the bearing out. But that's not how this works. It's just set up that way. He designed this cool pivot. It's kind of like a pivot collar. Really cool. And then it has his logo there. You can see it's got some clouds and I think another cloud. I'm not sure. But that's your Caelum Blade Designs logo right there. That's very cool. I think QSP did a pretty good job with that, getting the color to pop a little bit, or, you know, etching, whatever it is, to look cool. So I gotta say, aesthetically, I am down with this knife. I think it's a good looker. I do. I think it's a good looker, and it's got a good size to it in terms of like thinness and all that good stuff. It is. It's not like thick or anything. We can check it. Grab my calipers. It's not thin, but it doesn't, I think maybe because of the sheer size of it, it just doesn't feel thick, maybe. Let's just see. I'm going to get the inlay. So on the inlay here, we're at 0.56, right? 0.565, whatever. Let's back down here. 0.551, 0.50 without the inlay. And then on your blade thickness, and some of you guys are going to want to know, we're at 0.14, okay? So I think, I don't know, I think it feels great in the hand. I mean, that extra little thickness because of the material feels fine to me. I don't notice that, like it being too chunky or thick, especially as big as this knife is. I think it does make sense. And getting into ergonomics, guys, this thing is comfortable in hand. I mean, it is like really comfortable in my hand right now. If I switch over to right hand, don't feel that clip because it's very flat, but it works great. It doesn't have, like, it's flat, but it has enough of a lip there so you can get underneath. And you don't feel it in hand. You can climb up onto this flat right here, which I think is fantastic. It's basically a finger choil, and then you have control of the blade like this. And again, you're up. Oh, damn. Just to cut myself a little bit. Not enough to cut myself, but enough to send shock waves, you know, of scaredom. Anyway, you have enough of a choil that it controls your cut. I talked about this in a video I recently did where my brain, I need my finger to guide the material into the edge, right? So right here, I'll show you. My finger is guiding it to right there. Boom. So the cut doesn't start until where? Right here, maybe. And that's because my finger is guiding it there, because it's blocking that area. So if I take it and I hold it back here, right, I don't know what it is about my brain, but and then I'll go for, I'll hook it on the end of that sharpening choil or whatever. So if I climb up, and that's one of the reasons, guys, that I absolutely love a finger choil, because it's just how my mind works when it comes to cutting. I want to just go right into that cut, and I don't want to think about where I'm going to put the edge and everything. So this, in terms of cutting for ergonomics, is great. And then in terms of cutting the S90B, I think the prototypes are in S90B as well. I'm not going to use it enough to test the edge, but it feels great. That stonewash is great. You have that 0.14 stock, and you have a tall enough blade, and the grind starts here. It comes down to a thin-ish edge. I would not call it thin, but I wouldn't call it thick either. I think it's just a really good, usable EDC edge, so to speak. So it's probably around 25 thousandths, if I had to guess, with QSP on the prototype. He could probably get them down to around 20 for production, and I think that would be money. So I think this is going to be a joy to cut with, and you, again, have plenty of blade to use, right? 3.6 inches of blade to slice with. So I think that's really good. The carry, guys, fantastic. I got this flip it over to the left-hand carry and really enjoy it. So one thing I want to talk about on the clip, you can see I think it works wonderfully. It's got good retention. Now, the downsides are you have one screw and you have that square area. So it is seated into the frame with the one screw, but it's still not quite enough. You can see I can move that around. So what I would recommend, and he's going to decide whatever he wants to do, I'm just telling you what I'm thinking, is I would do 2 screws. So I would seat that. I would cut that in a little bit more. So you have, I would still pocket it, right? But I would just make it a bigger pocket. And then I would have an extra screw here. And then you have 2 screws and the pocket. That thing's not going anywhere. And then if you want to keep the... Here's the thing. Lefties are going to hate me because I'm left-handed. And I'm always, you know, I'm a lefty apologist or whatever. But you either got to get rid of the lefty clip side, right? Which I know, hate me. You can if you want, guys. You can hate me. But I'm looking at it as a knife maker, or sorry, knife designer here. And sometimes it makes sense to get rid of that lefty clip. It just does. But I personally would not mind if they just did so you're going to have that bigger cut, right, with 2 screws. Just make that a little bigger and then do a filler tab, right? You could do a filler tab in this bead blast titanium. I mean, you probably barely see it. You could use just 1 screw for the filler tab. You don't have to use both screws when it comes to the filler tab because you don't need that much, you know, protection or whatever strength for a filler tab. So you just still have 1 screw and you'd have a filler tab. I think that would look good. I would recommend a filler tab regardless. So even if you kept the clip like this, which I don't think you should because it wiggles, I would still do a filler tab just because I think it looks a little cleaner. On a premium knife like this, I would want that. Yeah, it's going to cost more, but not that much more that, you know, you should not do it is, you know, kind of the thing here. So that's my thoughts on the carry and the clip. They're fantastic, though. It carries really well. For this size of knife, guys, it is light. It is light. Okay, I always say that, and then I'm like, it's not light, but it's good, right? It's what you would expect from this size of a knife. And it has some milling pockets. You can see down there, there's 3 milling pockets there. And then on this side, you have milling as well. So he could probably get some more milling going up in there. And I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that would be a good idea to get a little bit more milling on that flat slab area right there. And then on the lock side, you could probably add another couple. You know, you could change that into 1 big pocket. And you could probably get a little bit more out there. You know, that's up to you. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a great weight, but I'm always down for a lighter weight knife. You know what I mean? Yeah, sounds. That's the aluminum carbon fiber. flick one and then the other. Let's see. Very similar. So, I mean, that inlay is not going to make enough of a difference, I think, you know, in terms of the sounds. So, I think really good sounds, guys. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It's got a really good clack to it. All right, action / fidget factor. So, it's got the hole and the front flipper, guys. Man, I do say guys a lot, don't I? Shit. So, real quick, left-handed. You got that bolster lock, reverse bolster lock with this exposed, but that's low enough on the frame lock there that it's not going to matter, right? And I can't put pressure on the lock bar. You can see there, I'm not like going to cause lockup issues. So no matter what you do, you're good left-handed. So that's good to know, right? And as a righty, you're covering that lock bar for the front flipper, which is good, guys. That's a big issue with front flippers is, sorry, that's me, like, actually, I think I'm covering the blade there. So let me just get into a normal grip. I'm a right-handed person with a large hand. All right, so there you go. You are not putting pressure on the lock bar because you have the inlay there. So it's really good for righties. And then, of course, you have that nice reverse flick. And, guys, this detent is dialed. I mean, look at this. That was me, sorry. Just breaking it. I'm just going to let it break. Boom. Flies out of there. I'll do it at the bottom of the hole. Still flies out of there. Thumb flick. You do have to kind of get your finger in there because it is a little bit of a drop off. So you got to kind of get down in there and then get it out. Once you practice it, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I would maybe consider having them add a 45 or something degree angle right here to catch your finger a little better. But the hole is big enough that your finger goes in, right? You're getting your nail in there. You're not using the meat of your finger to pop it, right? You're using your full nail to flick it. And like if I do it my normal hand left-handed, I get in there, boom. Flies out of there. Thumb flick. Yeah, it's got, you know, it's a little bit buried. You got to get in there. But if you're deliberate with it, you can get it pretty easily. And then you can obviously slow roll it real easy. And I think if your hand was the size for this knife, I think it would work. You'd be manipulating a little better than me. I think it's just because I got to slide all the way up the handle and down the handle to do things that, you know, it's looking a little weird. But that front flipper tab, guys, is so good. I'm just catching it so well, and it just pops. This detent, guys, is really good. I always am concerned when you have a front flipper / hole knife that they're gonna make the detent too strong one way or the other, right? And they didn't here. They did a great job here, and they made it perfect for both. QSP is really killing it with that. There is no detent play. I mean, you can see it. Let's see. You can see it moving a little bit, but that's not play. That's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not play, trust me. It's not rattling or anything in there. Same thing here. No issues at all. Front flipper, man, is dialed in, and the reverse flick is money. So I'd say my favorite on these knives is 1, a reverse flick, 2, a front flip, and then I'd go for a thumb flick last. You could try the, let's see. I can't do the reach around. No, I can't get it. I think the detent's too good. But I'm front flipping and I'm reverse flicking, and they're both fantastic on these knives. The closing action swings down, glide shut. These are going to be droppers, guys. Given the chance to break in, given skiff bearings, you know, given tuning and such, they're going to be droppers, guys. There's no play. There's no rock. No slippage. Just really good action. You can see this is the other one. No play. No slippage. No rock. Same exact action. I mean, literally identical. Super fun to play with because you can disengage and get out of there. You don't have to let it hit you. Get out of there and then let it drop. Boom. Just super fun, guys. Centering. Let's see. Centering. This one might be... no. That's dead center. Dead center. This one. Dead center. QSP, guys, they just nail it on prototypes. They really bring it for prototypes. Lock bar feels good. This is one thing I love about bolster locks, guys. Now, this specifically is... I don't know if they mill out any of the frame lock to fit the inlay on or if it just slaps on top. I think they do cut out some of the frame lock. Anyway, what it results in with a bolster lock for me is a lock bar where you can get a strong enough detent to have it be snappy like this, but the lock bar ends up being very light. Like it doesn't have a ton of pressure on it, so you can easily guide it out of the way, no problem. The access to the lock bar, phenomenal. I mean, look at that. Just cut back perfectly. Chamfer right here. I mean, dude, it could not be better on this. You have an over travel stop essentially built in with the scale there. You can't go past that. I'm sure there's another one underneath probably. A secondary on the insert. Let's see if we can find it. Yep. Yeah, it looks like the insert also has an over travel on it, but I can't be positive. Not that you need it because you have the scale there blocking, which is good. You have this hardware screw here and here for the inlay, and of course the pivot and the collar, I guess, are holding down the other end of it. Yeah, the action's phenomenal. So, yeah, that's the review. Anything else I want to cover? I love the bead blast. I love the finishing. It's just different, you know. It's not belt satin and, you know, whatever. Like, I guess the bead blast is pretty, you know, normal, but I don't know. Just this knife just feels unique to me, and I really like that. You know, I enjoy that. These prototypes will be going out to other channels. Keep your eye on some channels. Knife Nerdery has one headed his way, not one of these, a different one. I believe I'm sending this one to Jim Skelton to check out, and this one to Levon over at Knife Nuts. And then I have a list of channels it's going to go down to try to, you know, get him some feedback and exposure. I don't know, guys. I don't know what else to say. I really like it. I think Kevin did a great job. I think he dialed this design in. And one thing I want to note is this is his dream design, and that's kind of how we all do it. The first knife is always going to be your dream, you know, EDC, what you would want, you know, your perfect EDC. And he likes big knives, apparently. You know, the Arius, I think, is one of his favorite knives. It's, you know, about that size. It's a big knife, right? And that's what he personally wanted, so that's what he went with on this first run. So I'm just hoping there's enough people who also want that he can get this funded. I implore you guys, if you like big knives and you cannot lie, you check this out because it's a good one. It's definitely a good build. Oh, and the price point, I believe he is shooting for the same pricing as what we did on the Stout. So my Carta's $269 or $270, sorry, and then Carbon Fibers $280. So $270 and $280. I think that's an excellent price point, honestly. There's a lot of these new knives coming out. A lot of people coming out with knives that are in that 300 starting range, 300 to 350. And it's tough, man. You know, if you're going to bring out your first knife design and everything, you want to entice people. And I think keeping it in that 270, 280 range gives enough reason to give it a shot, right? You got to make some money, so you can't sell it for $250 or $220 like people would want, right? People are going to say, well, I can get a Kaiser for... But yeah, you got to remember, guys, when a Kaiser sells a knife, it's them making it and selling it. It's just not the same thing, right? It's a Chinese company making and selling it. Of course they're going to be able to sell it for way less. It's just how it is. When you have an American boutique brand, they have to make some money off it. So imagine that Kaiser price of the knife. That's probably what they're getting charged to make the knife. Then they have to make some money. They have to add packaging and shipping and all that stuff. A website they built to sell it and everything. So just keep that in mind before you complain about pricing on knives like this. $270 and $280 are great prices on these knives. I can tell you that from experience. And I think he nailed it there. And I think he nailed it on this knife. So again, I'm going to be picking one up. It'll definitely be a carbon fiber version. Whether it's the aluminum or the copper is yet to be seen. Maybe I'll get whichever one to match my stout. But I'll probably have more than one stout, so who knows. But anyway, leave any questions or comments down below. I'm sure Kevin would love to hear your guys' thoughts and get any other feedback on it that you would like to give him. Please be constructive with it. Don't be a D-hole. And I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And guys, go sign up for the newsletter at CaelumBladeDesigns.com, all right? I'll catch you later. Peace!